How's it? Okay, I'm here with Dave, and I got a little introduction. Well, here we are with Dave, the Haptic Gardner, a man who matriculated and decided South Africa was his living text, movement and meditation, his electives. He's an importer of Budokan. He's otherwise known as Flying Dragon. Dave has vowed to open his heart where there is suffering, to wake up where there is ignorance, to embody the inconceivable way, and to walk all the endless Dharma paths. Good news. I'm speaking with Dave today on behalf of this semi-existent conglomerate, sometimes called Holy Cow. Why? Why not? Today, I hope to touch base with what Dave has been up to lately, past 2 months since the immersion, the original condition immersion, and there's been dancing stuff happening. Um, Back when I was feeling quite sick in general, I started practicing Kundalini yoga quite furiously. On his way through Grahamstown towards the deepest retreat, Dave offered a pop-up or a pop-in class one morning. That single class had a profound and lasting impact on my own movement practice as I touched, for the first time in a real embodied way, a sense of emptiness and ease in my practice, which was the perfect counterbalance that I needed. What they've offered was something Qigong inspired, but one of those exciting and emergent approaches developed by modern day practitioners in a broader movement culture. Increasingly, the body itself becomes the text, the tradition, and it is Dave's quest and partialness for that traditionless tradition that I think clicked some kindredness between us from the get-go. Either that or both of us having attended pretty Lani private schools, or maybe something else. I consider Dave a leader in the scene here in South Africa, and he has committed himself through the vehicle and living question of the original condition to things, movements, music, spontaneity, creativity, and peace. I say our scene. What is that exactly? Last year, I joined Dave at the original condition immersion in Somerset West, and that had a profound impact, shaped the way I relate to and offer my practice to others. There's an ever-present orientation to naturalness, to openness in this haptic gardener's work. And I found myself naturally referring retreatants from Cape Town who wanted to continue whatever it was that we were doing to Dave. That immersion also gave me first contact and connection into a community of haptic gardeners down there in Cape Town who sometimes gather to be moved. Dave has always welcomed me warmly, been proactive in reaching out and connecting and networking people together. And if I could just give him a little thank you to him here at the beginning for his role that he plays, and wish him much strength as he continues to gather haptic gardeners and lean into service, commitment, and creativity. Dave has a beautiful vision of South Africa and a deep love for this country. As I say, he left school and has since then, in an unconventional post-school move for at least our Lani contemporaries, has, to my view, treated this country as a living text. The result of which is his unique network, his unique vision, and his imbibing something of the essence of this place, where we say lacquer and stuff. Hoping not to give away any trade secrets, I still carry today an anchoring Dave gave us at the original condition immersion, and something that I continue to return to. The question, what is my or the hidden curriculum at this moment? The second being, watch for the dance of creativity, and the third being, commit. In some weeks after the immersion, being gratefully hosted by Dave, I stumbled around a bit during, yeah, maybe I should leave that bit out. There's undies and a car, something about that. But we tend to talk about whatever is going on. Yes, yeah, some calls, some kind of conversation topics we've been gathered around, beside what is going on, what is the hidden curriculum. We arrived at a partial and passing insight that it is a hand in the dark. And we also have gathered around sinus and theory. I'm wondering how your sinuses are. Maybe you can tell me a bit. That might be my first question. Um, and then, what is the help of the dance floor? What does it mean for a dance floor to be healthy? And specifically, how does dance relate to health? Okay. But that's my interest in uh it's the gathering question for me, at least, dance and health.
Mm.
Okay. The other intent is to catch up with Dave to give him some space to reflect on what has been going on. It will be a spacious conversation. We'll see what comes up, and I want to know when he found the mountain that stood still, maybe. So, Dave, welcome to the Holy Cow, whatever this is or will be. How are your sinuses?
After that, bro, they are clear. They are, mm, you're hired. You're hired.
Tired.
If I had a position, you are hired. That was incredible. You
Ah,
made for this.
fantastic.
You made for this.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
Okay, that's good.
no, that was beautiful. That was I want to like put a beat to it and a melody and just send it off into the cosmos. Oh, that was spectacular. Um, the delivery, the choice of words. Thank you, brother. I was just that was what was so endearing. It's just like whoa, and remembering the. I mean, at least you write. I mean, I write, but you. I think the pen is your sword, um, and the hand in the dark. Just that you remember that the hand in the dark and the health of the dance floor. Um, mm, wonderful reflections. Um, my sinuses are are clear, are good.
Okay.
Um, it is funny. I mean, I could literally stick my nose in the camera if you want to see, but as you know, I don't really have a left nostril.
Mm, mm.
Um, and my brother had the septum surgery, but now he's got issues with his other nostril.
Oh man. Sure.
Um, uh, so there's some theory in that, eh? The dukkha is endless. Fix one
Yeah.
leak, the next leak appears.
Ish. Yeah, it's the that yeah, I mean when I like reflect on or when I was reflecting on like, trying to put in some way like under subjects. So firstly inspired to make a strong introduction by some people's work I followed at the integral stage. So there's something like imitative there. It was also lovely just to kind of like condense and reflect on and um you were calling at some stage that kind of practice of inner archaeology, of excavating stuff and then actually committing that third step of like committing and completing. Um and countless kind of disastrous effects, but there's something in the process I think that is that is great. The the
Um,
so I mean the subjects that um can if there were to be titles, it was this interplay of dance and health, and you've just been involved with Baba Yaya and Oorleef, which means surviving, as far as I'm surviving. So yeah, there's that interest there. How dance. I mean, originally we were thinking about the health of dance floors in terms of how do you even evaluate that, a healthy dance floor, like with this prior commitment or assumption that dance is good, or it's at least something that we both kind of orientate ourselves towards and value. Um, and then the sinuses and theory came up in heading to Poplar Grove. Yeah, yeah. So maybe going into the dance and health. I want to try. So let me. Okay, there's this way in which when we our culture can do this thing of subordinating everything to the health or pleasure. So it's like anything you do becomes in service of. that thing that's like, so it becomes like the selling for the thing because it will be for your health or for pleasure. So like Zizek, this sniffing philosopher, has a yeah, he's all in the theory, but I don't know about the sinuses. The he has a kind of shorthand for it is like we don't even do drugs for recreation anymore. It's like you do the drug because it's good for you. It helps you like resolve trauma or it's like so everything is subordinated to this principle of health
Mm.
or pleasure. So it's kind of callous how I brought in drugs there, but it's just like a especially with the subject material of Oorleef involving addiction. Um,
Mm.
I think we're speaking in that degree of intensity or in that area of intensity, and that's kind of the interest, like um, because there's this way in which dancing or moving it goes into an excess and it can strain the body. So professional dancers might take that into like a further excess, but there's also a way in which when it comes into a performance context or um, so the question that how does one think about or moderate health in the context of dance, where dance then reaches into certain excesses, and
Yeah.
then how do we say that it's good without kind of subordinating it to the sense that it's good because it's like healthy for you, or is it like that's it? I realize there isn't a very clear question, but it's kind of like the stuff that
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. I mean, the thing that arises instantly is that working with Baba Yaya, working with um, dancers, professional dancers, dancers that have such a rigorous relationship um, with dance. It's like at times it's like at any cost. It doesn't matter because there's an element of like sacrifice and transcendence to the higher virtue or message or the art that is revealed through taking the body past that excessive point that is then reaching like an ontological health, you know, or like a question around meaning or purpose, and it's like it's like, oh yeah, the body, meh. it's it's you know, um there's a drive to yeah to push beyond
yeah
limits. And yeah, like, is it healthy? What are the consequences?
yeah
It can spiral, you know, it can go so many ways. All I can speak about is that with what we did in the past 2.5 months, well, it's longer, but okay, the whole Oorleef process, I would say, has been 6 months. Um, we were providing conditions where the dancers and the creative team could feel safe and could feel healthy and could feel at ease, um, and then putting that in the pressure cooker and like knowing that we knowing we've got brakes, knowing we've got a steering wheel, knowing we've got gears, and like we can run through the gears and we can go to sixth gear and we can put the foot flat and we can close our eyes and let go of the steering wheel.
hand in the
And then
dark
and then we can find it again. And community is the key with that, because having someone to bounce off, having someone to reflect with, and just the different roles that different people play, you know, the different directors, the different teachers, you know, the different the differences in the personalities, and how, you know, everyone's just kind of yin yanging everyone all the time.
Mm.
So I don't know. I have my signals not. Was it crashing a bit?
Nah, all clear. All clear.
Yeah. So yeah, man. It's like capacity. I think it's what I think it's very important for any individual to find their edge. Um, and that might bring into question, like, well, is this good for me? Is this healthy? And what is it? Physically healthy? Is it spiritually healthy? Is it mentally? Is it and and the same could be used for inaction, right? Like and inertia, like just
Mm.
being completely stagnant. Um and and what is the desire that's driving that? You know, yeah, I think if if there's an impulse that is like, oh, I have to do this because it's good for me. Oof, I mean, it is good for you, but it's like it might not always feel good.
Yeah.
Um, so can you still commit?
Mm.
Yeah. But definitely in
Yeah.
some, it's like two. I mean, for those Oorleef dancers and like for myself as well, like performing the music, like yeah, there's a feeling of like, yeah, like it's a sacrifice. It's like I'm gonna sacrifice my, like I'm gonna put my body through like the ringer
Mm.
for, I don't know, something bigger, something unexpected.
Rich. Yeah. This, yeah, feels like the terrain. So like there's a some drive for transcending something. Then there's the checks of one's own body, but that's exactly what's being worked in the intensity. Uh, So then there's like moments of discomfort, but the drive is something more than the discomfort. Then there's the checking of the community. There's you all checking one another in this process and then all aiming towards something. Um, you're saying you're tracking like a 6 month process. It might be nice to kind of get into the um, maybe the details. Like I'm kind of wondering the same set of dancers through it, and I'm wondering about like the development that you've seen, what kind of tracks it's taken.
Yeah,
Um, but on this theme of uh, health, there's in what you're reflecting now, there's like there's that drive for something transcendent. So it can't be subordinated just to health when health starts to just sound like comfort of the body. Then, but there's also this aspect of the material that you're over, which was surviving. And as far as I'm aware, like addiction was close there. So there's something about that process. I heard Ben express on the Espresso show that like uh, it's about approaching material and it's almost like a resolution of the material of that dynamic. So because there's a therapeutic side to the process that's at least involved, but we're not wanting to subordinate it to health. But then there is this sense that being in this process is that kind of thing that overcomes or can overcome or be the means of really grappling with addiction. So
yeah,
there are two directions there, maybe like a pushing into that or into the like reflecting on the
yeah,
process more generally.
yeah. Well, I can do, they go hand in hand. I think that was also what was so potent about the show, is that the performance, the process, but what people saw, what the audience saw, it was, you know, it was ugly at times. You know, it was brutal. It was terrifying. I mean, there's some pieces in that show that are like, you know, they carry a high trigger warning. You know, it's like there's so it's completely getting to the heart of the matter in that point, and that dance is not always a beautiful thing, or beauty in what people generally, you know, like, oh, the ballet was beautiful, or like that contemporary piece was beautiful, but that people being real, and people, you know, more in like the kind of Buto sense, the dance, the dance of death from Japan, um, that 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 we need to express these other aspects of our humanity, and that if we can do that, our capacity is, well, I don't want to say limitless, but all of a sudden it's like the idea of health then is like, yeah, am I attending to the difficult emotions, the difficult thoughts? That's beautiful. Like, yes, am I expressing it? Am I letting it out? Am I bringing it out? Am I allowing myself to be vulnerable enough to express it and be seen and be heard? Um, and and that I don't even have to do that to feel better. I'm not dancing this difficult dance to feel better. It's just what's coming through the dance. So that was very evident in a lot of the pieces. That was very evident in the process. And maybe I can speak now a bit more about the process, at least from my side, in that, yeah, I mean, I moved to Cape Town in March 2021. I met Ben in April 2021. At that time, um, Ben was involved in a pretty smallish way with what was then called Indoni. So Baba Yaya used to be called Indoni, which Balu, Ben's mother, started with a few other people. And Ben wanted to start to get more involved. And that, yeah, that was when I then did kind of my first class with them. And yeah, that was, yeah, May 2021. And then Ben kind of, he really dived in, and things started to shift, and they split, and so Indoni became, well, Baba Yaya came out of that split, and Ben and took a kind of co-creative director role. And they did a show called Phoenix, which was the first Baba Yaya show. And I had, yeah, done a few classes with them, not so much, but after Phoenix I started to get involved a lot more. Obviously Ben and I were moving a lot together, bouncing ideas off each other, and he wanted me to offer, you know, what he was coming to attend with me in the workshops and classes. He wanted me to offer that to the Baba Yaya students, so we started doing that like almost weekly. Then they did another show called Imvula. And then I got even more involved because we ran the yoga teacher training, which was a 2-month very deep dive. And I would say kind of after Phoenix into that Imvula period, they had certain auditions, and that group has kind of stuck together for the most part. There's been a kind of consistent group of students, I'd say, since maybe the beginning of last year at least. Yeah. So yeah, beginning of 2023. And so they've started doing a lot more stuff with me. They did Mvula, then we did the teacher training, and then from the teacher training we did Mvula again, but completely changed it and developed it. And the first shows were in the theater arts, kind of small, very intimate space in a church in Obs, and then taking it to the bigger theater was the Star Theatre Homecoming Center, which is in town, the old Fugard. And yeah, that was the end of last year. And I played live with 4 other musicians. And yeah, incredible show. And there were ideas coming through there already that Tansley Euster, who's mostly a contemporary dancer, and Leroy Samuels, who's mostly a hip-hop dancer, they've been together for about 4 years, and they had pieces in those shows, and they were starting to kind of grow as teachers within Baba Yaya. And they had this idea to particularly to actually do a show on men's mental health. And that was kind of the end of last year. That was their first expression of it to me. And yeah, beginning of this year, we dived straight into it. Kind of mid-January, we had auditions, and because of the success of Phoenix and the success of Mvula, some of the people that have started showing up at the auditions are just like, it's like Baba Yaya has just been growing and growing and growing and growing. Working, Mvula was with Maxwell Rani, who's kind of a legend within the dance world, particularly in Cape Town. And he's given a lot to Baba Yaya, and he's kind of also funneled some of the students into UCT to study dance, study choreography, physical theater. And yeah, amazing auditions, incredible group of people. And then Tansy and Leroy just kind of ran with it. And obviously Ben and Barlow are kind of, they're the directors of the whole company, or the NGO. But Tansy and Leroy are the directors of the show, and of Oorleef. And yeah, that first process was crazy. It was 6 weeks. It was 6 weeks. And then we did the first run of shows, also at Theatre Arts, that small little church in Obs. And it was just potent, the people that were coming to the auditions, it just raised when I say raised the bar, I'm just talking about the type of human that was coming, the attitude, like the willingness to connect, to make eye contact, to be vulnerable, to be like hungry to learn, hungry to share, like, and this kind of co-creative energies just started to take over. Whereas previously it was, I mean, we're dealing, with like young kids, like 18, 19, from various different backgrounds within the Cape Flats. And it's like they're trying to find their voice, and what kind of space, what kind of environment can we facilitate where that voice can just come through in a wholesome, clear, honest way. So that's what happened for those 6 weeks. And then they wanted me to play the music. Well, be a live musician, kind of work on transitions, play on some of the live songs, and then do some pieces, particularly for solos. And I'm basically looping with my guitar, mic, and I'm I've got shakers and bells and rattles, and weird things and just hitting the wall and just whistling, just, you know, creating strange sounds. And it went down really well. It went down really well. And the reflections post that show were like, we've got to keep going. And I then went into quite a deep training period with the students, like full days, going pretty deep into the physicality of the body, gravity, momentum, the ground, and then moving with each other in a very highly improvised and spontaneous way, which a lot of them aren't used to. A lot of them are used to like intensive choreography, be that more contemporary or traditional African dance or hip hop. So we were exploring taking care of the body as well. When I say taking care, like understanding the nervous system, understanding the capacities of the joints and the tissues, the senses, how we see, how we hear, how we feel music, how we work with forces. And then it then went into a 2-month, that was May, June, process of developing the show. So taking the first show, redeveloping the pieces, few change in cast members because some of the previous cast members got jobs, amazing performers, so they get opportunities. But the core group was there, and wanted to dive deeper into the subject matter, which meant a very intensive process, which I unfortunately didn't get to attend. But they all did a very kind of deep, reflective, kind of cathartic inner archaeological process that really allowed them to bring their characters and their stories into the pieces in a very, very real, seamless way. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, the show actually has characters that go through this whole journey through soundscapes and landscapes that are uniquely Cape Townian. Like it has a very like Cape fusion flavor. So it has the kind of the grunge and the intensity of the inner city and of the townships, and it has the wide open expanse of the flats, and it has the intensity of the ocean, and it has the vastness of the mountain, and it has the genius that has come out of the Cape Flats musically and in terms of theater and performance and references to cultural icons and moments in kind of recent history, and just really kind of galvanizing a kind of this like very unique Cape, like, oh, it's like the show comes with with heat. It's like that floor is on fire. So it's that was the process, and it just when it came to the first show, it was like the bonds, the relationships that had been developed over these years. Like that's why I'm giving this long story, because through this whole time was like a lot of challenges, like Ben and Balu wanting to give up a lot, like not worth it, can't do it, like it's just not working, and just like finding ways, reimagining, and with them, Ben and Balu doing the background work, and then Tansy and Leroy just kind of being able to just fly creatively, and the amount of permission that they gave me and Ben, and the encouragement, and like I developed a whole bunch of pieces musically that weren't in the first show. There were new choreographies, new dances, and it just being in that kind of also that level of the theater that is a theater that's, you know, it's big lights, it's big sound, it's like, you know, really good sound guy. All the intensity of the magic of a theater and what happens in those spaces. And the people who came to watch, we had 3 main shows that were packed. It was, yeah, it was pretty, it was, you know, sold out. Just people's faces afterwards and during the show, because I also have a very interesting position. It's not ideal in terms of performance, but because some people couldn't see me, and it like, but I'm there, I'm like in between the audience and the stage. I'm on the stage with the dancers, and there's a lot of interaction between us. And I sometimes just kind of glimpse at the audience, you know, and their faces are kind of lit up by the light, and just to see the range of emotions and expressions, people like standing up, people getting too much for a lot of people, and people having to actually leave and like, or go stand and like breathe and then come back. And I mean, the one piece towards the end is there's a guy whose song we use, and he came to watch the first show, and he was there now as well in the recent shows, and him and his whole crew were kind of in the front row, and it's just this like, it's like this deep Kaapse like rap. It's called Bekenny Kaap, you know, and it's just like, it's just wild. It's absolutely wild. And he was rapping the whole song. We wanted him to perform, but he's pretty busy. And but like this, him and his crew were just like singing every line, and like the relationship between him and the dancers was just electric. So yeah, and just how different people process it, and yeah, crazy things happen. I mean, there's a scene where a guy called Ace, who's this incredibly talented young kid, unbelievable performer, and he spray paints a whole piece, big black blank piece of wood, and in 7 minutes he you know, creates like a graffiti masterpiece while on stage, while performing in between it's completely ridiculous. And then after the show, you know, we like pick it up and we carry it through the foyer and like put it there, and people are just like, what just happened? You know, it's wild. It's a wild ride. So yeah, and what some people had to overcome, just their own fears of having to tell their stories through their solos, the things I had to overcome in terms of just the fear of making mistakes, like the amount of pressure, like, you know, it's like 350 people watching, and it's like, if I don't get this first note right on this loop, this could be an absolute mess. And you can't really hide. So yeah, there's definitely been a bit of a slump kind of post show, which I've just kind of been watching and being mindful of, because it just felt so meaningful just for 2.5 months to just be in such an incredible group of people, just so dedicated, so focused, so raw, and to do something that it felt very important, you know. But we know that I mean, there's the ripples and the repercussions, and will go and simmer for about the next 2 months. And I'm working with a lot of the students. I mean, I took 3 of them, Nico, Zanella, and Asanda. I took them on to the immersion in May. They came to Somerset Gift. And I'm taking 2 of them to Poplar Grove in September. And I'm organizing hip hop classes, because that was most of the stiff white people after the show were like, we really want to do hip hop, please, you know. So I'm organizing that. But there's this feeling of like a 2-month break, because unfortunately no real funding came in for Baba Yaya, which is obviously the complexity of the whole arts, NGOs, grants, funding. how expensive do these things need to be? What would it take for us to tour? How can it be sustainable? That's a whole nother conversation. Um, but yeah, no real funding came in, so we only kind of kicking in again in September, um, which is not too far away. But um, yeah, um, the feeling is though that after you do that, it's like, okay, we should totally fly to Joburg on Wednesday and do 3 shows, and it. I mean, it could. There was a dancer from Russia. There was a dancer from London, a dancer from New York, who were in Cape Town. They happened to hear about it and came to the shows, and they were just like, this would sell out anyway, like. And I'm saying it with rigor and humility as well, but I just the level of talent that this group has is just like it's just like it needs to be seen and heard. Um, so that's my reflection.
That that's what it is. That's what Cape Town is. That was very like it was a shallow one, but it was more like more like something like
Well, it's
I was
funny because
thinking.
in Ben's piece, I throat sing. I think we spoke about this. I can't remember. I might have sent you a video. Ben's piece is quite crazy. We kind of developed it together. Um, and the one part of the solo, I go into this throat sing like out of nowhere. So people were like, "It's where did that come from?" Oh, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, sure. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I feel caught up. But like caught up in that now, like I have a sense of that I wouldn't be caught up unless I was in it. That makes sense. But it's this thing with South Africa, like when I reflect on it, like it's like this hidden gem kind of insistence of this place. It's like there's so many gems, but they hide or they are hidden or there's some circumstantial reason why, which makes it also exciting because there's always this sense of like discovery. Um, but yeah, it's a like so the way I was hearing the academy was in that sense of like an academy. It's in this um like a transition moment, brings people in, and then it's affording opportunities. So it's like that institute, like an educational institution brings in, and the framing of academy, and then there's this like this wildness, or there's something untempered, or like the conditions there's volatility, or there isn't, and there seems to be something, and it's always uncomfortable in creative process. Like there's something very vital about that being the case. And then in South Africa, it seems like that is predominantly just the case. So there is something like vitalizing about that, but it's it's tough to put the thing, and then now
yeah,
we got it out. So there's
yeah,
just like it's a refining. Um,
yeah,
sure. I mean, part of what I really admire about your character is this sort of embodied sense of like it's here that it's happening, and then just doing that. Like it's a real like okay, yeah. There isn't a it's like a settledness, It isn't like a looking out to um no, it should be like this other place that I need to go and do like you gardening. I'm loving this like yeah, I'm loving this
haptic.
play on the words.
Yeah,
Haptic gardener. Like
yeah,
you and it requires that consistency and that returning, and like as you're sharing, like Ben and I'm forgetting the other gentleman's
Balu.
name, but Balu.
Oh, that's
Like
it. That's his mom. That's his mom. His mom found.
oh yes, yes. Mother and son run academy. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like Balu, yeah, she was dancing. I mean, she's been dancing for a long time. But like there's all these wonderful little stories that have just like synchronicities and connections that have come around. The one is Nico, who I mentioned, Nico Masepe. Remember that name? He's highly talented, super, just very special human being. Um, so he came to the immersion. He's coming to Poplar Grove. During the first Oorleef, he wrote and directed and acted in another show that was part of the Baxter Festival. He's 21. So he's doing this show Oorleef where he's like a main lead role, and then he did the show called Vico, which was like it was like it was like the last Airbender Avatar kind of uh brother sister in ancient primordial Africa, like, and he just like created this while in this other show. We finished the Oorleef performances, and then he performed the whole week that show in the Baxter. It's like just like the amount of energy and
Mm.
imagination it's just unreal. So his dad is Sonwabo Masepe, who was pretty legendary director and dancer. Um, yeah, through kind of through the 80s. And Balu and Sonwabo used to do stuff together back then. And now Sonwabo's son is doing stuff with Balu in
Wow.
2024. It's just like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is kind of
Generational.
yeah, these generational things that are happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sure. The number of directions. Um, the I'm thinking about this. You mentioned that part of the rappers that came to watch in the first row of the audience. Um, and then so I'm thinking of the relationship between uh, it's an academy. You brought in this really like educational element, like learning the body with you bring in original condition and your approach. I'm interested in um, how the process has brought you to reflect on your own practice and how you formulate it and how you give it. But that's aside, maybe we get to that. But I'm just including that in the sense of like the being a pedagogy outside of performance, which would bring it into something more like an academy. So it's not just an academy for it is an academy for producing dancers who can perform professionally, but it's got an educational element in that it's not just producing a performer, it's like it's learning a person and having the person be initiated into the process of learning themselves. And then the subject matter that you like set yourself over was deeply transformative, surviving,
Yeah.
surviving. The so then there's this tension. There's like the and it's a tension in dance itself. Dance is this expression, and then it's visible. That's what can make it like hard to get into. Like a rigidness is a kind of like a fear of being seen, maybe. So there's something about the person who sees, who experiences the audience that is part of the act of dancing, and so it can be put in a performative context. And then you were reporting that like there was these like channels of bleeding between audience and performers, like, and so the rappers got involved, and now there's this like back and forth, and even you there, you're in this improvisational way. like with the music and the dancing are resonating, and then you're also feeling the audience there. So it's a beginning to blend of who's part of
Yeah,
what. And I
totally.
I know you've been the to be moved kind of contact improv space got moved outside recently, just exploring there. So there's a you've been playing deeply with this performative stuff,
Yeah,
and that membrane between audience and performer. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, that
There's a
that
nice
terrain.
there's a thread there that I think is important, at least from my side. I can't speak about the other aspects of Baba Yaga because they are, Leroy is doing very specific work with them. Tansley is doing very specific work with them. Some of the other teachers and dancers are doing things. But from my side, what I am encouraging is to, yeah, to really allow, and not in a kind of, okay, I got to frame this as clearly as I can. Yes, okay, the show is about to start and now you're about to perform, but you, you just be you. Don't try to now perform. It's like there's many different aspects to ourselves. Okay, I'm the performer, I'm the this, I'm the that, but it's like before the show, after the show, who are you? Like, and when you're on the floor, on the dance, on the stage, who are you? And I am, my feeling personally is that it's no different. It's no different. I'm not someone on the stage and then someone else. And that doesn't mean I'm the same person. Doesn't mean I'm like this bland. It actually means that I'm more interested in the alchemy and the chemistry and the physicality of the space and time that I find myself in ad infinitum. So it's like um that's kind of what I'm providing in my classes, in my workshops, and then what I do with them, and letting go of this idea that now I have to be the dancer. Um and and that okay, the dance is actually always happening. And so this then becomes something about about my life and how I am in the world, and in every interaction that I'm having is an opportunity for harmony.
Mm.
It's not just I'm a dancer on a stage and like I need to become good at that. It's like can we be that all the time without this trying, uh, so so that's really what I'm doing with them, uh and what I'm doing with myself, obviously, and that's been my process. And um yeah, it's in the other spaces, it's like when we did the thing on Sea Point and we did the other thing the other night at 196, it's not like, yeah, it's not like, okay, now we're going to put on a show. I don't see it that way personally. I But that doesn't mean that it's not like there's not a level of reverence in it. I'm like, no, 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 or a level of intimacy, or a sense of heightened or potentially altered state. Or it's not like I'm going, oh, it's nothing matters and it's not special. I'm saying everything matters and everything's special. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying every moment. is a moment to perform, you know.
Mm.
So that just feels more honest for me. And what I could see in them was I could see that on the stage, this particularly with these performances, it was like they were just, it was moving through them. They were letting it move through them. They were being themselves. They were letting their relative and contextual stories come through without shame or judgment or guilt. And they weren't like, I'm the dancer on the stage. Now we're doing sadness. Sad. I'm sad. Yeah. Or like, oh, look how cool we are. We're doing hip. It was like, and that's because we had built so much trust, like as a group. And so people they could just shine in their capacity, you know?
Mm.
But that is, yeah, that requires a lot of hard work. That requires a lot of contemplation. It requires a lot of reflection. It requires um, endless forgiveness and continual checking of attention and motivation, um, and yeah, yeah. And then
Mm.
it really can be, it's just like, okay, we take a breath together, and now we can meet this audience, like we can be with them and they can be with us, and it's not like this, oh, what are they thinking about me?
Mm.
And then blurring it even further, particularly obviously not within, well, in Oorleef it does happen because the audience there is, I mean, particularly with the Baba Yaya shows, I mean, the audience is wild. There's a lot of stuff that only happens, you can't plan for it, you can't, it's like it happens in the night, you know, it happens in the performance. Um, and it influences the dancers and the dancers influence the audience, and then I'm doing that through sound, and it's happening through the lights, and there's a lot of magic that just happens spontaneously. But what I was gonna say, like with more of the contact improv to be moved spaces, yeah, blurring that even further. So okay, we're moving. Oh, now you're moving with us as well. You were just sitting there watching. Now you're moving. You were sitting quietly. Now you're humming along. Now you're whistling. Um, um, and I think people are hungry for that. I think people are hungry for like um, communion.
Yeah, I see you as playing very seriously. So it's like and part of what that involves for me is like really, really taking seriously um as material the kind of frame or the membrane, like the context, that like implicit structure or place in which something is happening. That's part of the material that you play with. So even in like the way that you have come to original condition in the context of seeking a tradition, and now I'm rapping because I'm never missing. But here we go. I keep flipping. So the the that like traditionalist tradition quest, that like a spaciousness has given. There's a question there in terms of your own reflection, in terms of what kind of spaciousness has afforded you that relationship to the traditions that you have encountered. Um, there might be something about like our loneliness that has given that space. there's a bit of privilege in exploration,
Totally.
and not needing to really be subsumed by any institution that we come into because there's a sense of mobility otherwise. But the it was interesting. So this track of ugliness that in the first reflection you're reflecting on how parts of the performance were ugly. So I'm curious on this line in terms of like what role that plays. I mean, what does it afford this introduction of um, I'm trying to not I'm because we've been around this material. It just stuck out again. This fact of like this inclusion or this allowance or this making space for that which would impress another or oneself as being ugly, and then this like what allows the bringing that into the structure of both the training and then the performing itself. Like um, why did that seem like a good idea? Why do you think it's happening? Um, is that kind of clear enough?
Yeah. Yeah, the it's generally a kind of what's that called again?
Recoil. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
recoil, yeah, um,
yeah, no,
deflection,
yeah,
uh, yeah, turning away. Don't want to hear it, don't want to see it, don't want to feel it. Because because it requires vulnerability. Um, it requires deeper existential questions. Well, not requires, provokes, sorry, provokes deeper existential questions because it's like, I'm not about that. Uh, and yeah, we just okay, so we naturally avoid that kind of thing. But what we've also started to, well, what yeah, I think as a species, what has become absolutely very, very, very clear and evident is not our ability just to do that, but our ability to do that and then like sugarcoat it, sugarcoat, and then like maybe bury it or like or just put it over there, just you know. Um, and that has then therefore resulted in toxicity, um, on a social scale, on personal level, on global level, just on every level. There's just a kind of septicemia that I think we have, and because of our ability to fool ourselves, particularly with like let's just say with cell phones or screens or television, it's like amplified to the extreme because we can select what we want to program ourselves with. Um, so the reality is that as soon as you bring the body into stillness or movement in a maybe a slightly different environment, all that stuff that's been buried or ignored is going to reveal itself. It's just going to happen. Um, and so therefore we need practices and facilitators and communities that can that can hold, that can be open to that happening for a person, and not and being supportive, so that that person can go through their own process as it arises for them. And that, I think, is and then to reflect together on that, and it gives a person a sense of, well, it's the development of interdependence. It's the development of communication, community, so it's like, we're all here for you, because the feeling of being in that space is, okay, I am supported, but I don't need to clutch. I don't need salvation from an individual. I just need to be able to access the uncomfortable things that are potentially arising. They're not always going to arise, but I would say for someone who is like, if you've never done that kind of thing before, and you go to a different space, or you experience stillness, or you experience movement, it's chemical, it's physics. It's just, the stuff is going to come up. Okay, so then there's that general kind of process, which I think is crucial and highly important. Then there's even the further exploration of those maybe even more intense feelings or emotions or thought patterns, or for some people, actual real traumatic experiences, that, if felt and seen again in a supportive space, that can allow for transmutation, or just able to actually, you use that word grok. I really enjoy that word, to actually grok with it, to grapple with it, to be with it, and to feel the hate, or to feel the shame, or to feel the guilt, or to feel the whatever it is, that darkness. And then most of the time, it transmutes, it changes, and it's like, oh, I can act, oh, whoa, this is giving me something else, this is giving me something else. And we feel that viscerally as an audience. And there's two particular pieces from Oorleef. One is a guy called Sean in Changana, his solo, and Ben's solo are, it's dark, it's like the darkness. And as an audience, it evokes, people watching are like taken to many different places within themselves and within the relation to this person that's performing this thing. But like, most of the time, it evokes a sense of compassion. It evokes a sense of like, oh, I know what that's like. It heightens the empathy. It doesn't make everyone go crazy and psychopathic. Like, I think there's a fear around this. There's like a stigma around this, or a confusion. It's actually an ignorance. It's just ignorance around like, oh, if I'm just going to become this, like, it's like, no, it's going to just, you're going to feel it and know it and sense it. And because of the community, and because of the container, for lack of a better word, it can shift and it can change. And then we can explore other things. Then we can explore how playful we are and how creative we are. And now all of a sudden, the shame, because the shame is being felt and the darkness is being felt, it's like, oh, well, hara bara bara ba ba ba. And now I'm like, I'm free to gesture, because I'm not ashamed. So this is super important, particularly for like dancers who think that they have to look and feel a certain way, and like, it's got to be bright and shiny and whatever. It's like no, it it's it can be whatever it needs to be.
Amen. The Sure. Okay. So that the way you said develop codependence, that was great. I heard it like because this thing of
Interdependence, develop interdependence.
yeah, sorry, I put the co in there. I put the co in there to bring out this well, it's this cultural thing, it's like we're so set on becoming independent or thinking of ourselves as being independent. And then there's like it actually is a cultivation. It's a development of the capacity for interdependence to like interdepend on one another. Then that might even go further that is actually the case, or that's the state of affairs. It is an
Yeah,
independent situation.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I then pushed it further with the co for because of that latent kind of idea that we have. And
yeah.
it was the inversion that you really brought out for me now.
Mm.
Like this still be still, move, and in a different space. And then, as you say, like it will come up. So Dave, the haptic gardener, is doing is doing that. You're putting is that like you're excavating. It's yeah. I'm
The God,
wondering, Gardner.
the soil. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah,
yeah, the seed sprouts, bro.
churn it
This,
up.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm wondering, um, it's kind of so this idea of drive came in at the beginning of of the conversation because like and the curiosity or the wonder is what is the what drives one to do that or to dance in this manner, to be a dancer, to what what is the drive that allows one to remain or sit in that discomfort, in the things that they're like deeply habitual, recoiling or turning away from. In your observations, what has it been most in the people that you have identified who have exhibited the staying capacity, who have stayed? Because the way that I would frame it is like there's a sense of a worthwhileness beyond this discomfort, or just like a capacity of being in the discomfort. And you mentioned like this containment, this like a sufficient enough container. I really appreciate that. I still have this kind of yeah wonder about this what I've termed drive or like
yeah,
a staying power. Like,
yeah. I This might actually be a way to sum it all up. I don't want to sound cheesy, man,
no, 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 no.
but it's
There's,
it's 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 love, bro. That's what it is. It's love. It's the action of the heart. It's courage. That's what it is. And the traditionless tradition is love. It's wisdom. That's what um I feel we're all it's what feels most natural. It's what feels it's what makes life. It's what makes life.
you're
So
saying yeah.
the drive, the ability to stay there is that act of courage. It's that love. It's accepting that this is what it is. It's like, this is what is here now, and it's going to change, and there is another side to this, and I am committed to being here with all of this in its intensity. And it's because we remember love. I feel that is what is driving all of us into each other and into ourselves. It's very organic. And here's another part of the catch up. So May, yeah, immersion. Then I went to KZN and I taught at the BRC, which was very, very, very special. The group of people that came, the honoring of Louis had just passed. And while I was there, I was like, that's what this is all about. Not just this space. That's what all of these spaces, whatever, people go to walk on the Sea Point Promenade. People watch the sunset over the mine dumps in Joburg South. The bird, feeding its chick, the whatever it is, that's what, it's why we're talking. And we just get endlessly distracted. And I just think because of our dependency on technology, we've just made it harder for ourselves to embrace and love the natural processes of life, like death and illness. Because we've got this feeling that we can but we can prolong it and we can control it. And so that fear becomes like compounded. But I think when we really actually strip it back, people are like, there's just heart, there's heart. So BRC, that I felt that very, very clearly this time because of the feeling that Louis had passed and feeling what someone can create when they just get their hands in the soil. From nothing to just this bastion of good vibrations, And then Guy picked me up from my good friend Guy picked me up from BRC, and we went to Garden Castle, which I'd never been to. Drakensberg Gardens down from Underberg. And we had 3 nights there. And I took MDMA for the first time. We spent the whole day in the mountain, incredible part of the mountain, Garden Castle, Sleeping Beauty Cave. I'd highly recommend it to any human being on the planet. Absolute magic day after this full weekend of meditation, giving thanks and love at the BRC. And that night we got back, I made a Thai green curry by the fire in our stone cottage, full moon on the mountains. And he said, I brought some MDMA. And I'd never done it before. And we've journeyed together before with LSD and with mushrooms. And I said, I trust you, bro. Oh, sweet. And took it. And after about 45 minutes or so, I felt my head go a bit funny, my vision, and maybe a bit of fear. And I was like, because I've never taken it before, I was like, I don't really know what to expect. And my experience with psychedelics has been like, it's never what you are going to expect. So there's that control thing that happens. And I just dropped it down, just relaxed my belly, and just dissolved, just melted completely no sense of edge or borderlessness, but complete feeling of safety and belonging. I mean, I'm not saying I disappeared like in a, I, who am I? No, it was just, oh, woof, here we are. The blood is moving, the heart is beating, and just massive realization because I've had of that experience so many times in my life, and from what I've been studying, what I've been doing, like, oh, it's all here. The heart, the being, it knows. We don't have to worry about things. We don't have to. It's like just let it come from this space of reverence and um, and just kind of age old wisdom, and then like very potent memories of childhood and respect for people like you, my friends. I mean, you came up, Eve, my parents, my grandparents, and obviously Gaia being there, and just, I mean, one of the very tangible things that came through was it was the exact same feeling that I used to get these rocks in my garden as a kid growing up in Bryanston and Joburg. And I used to climb into the rocks, and there was like this kind of speckbone succulent thing that would grow out of it. And I'd climb into it at sunset, and it was super quiet, and a burning sky and pine forest, and just like, you know, womb, warmth, belonging, safety, understanding. So a lot of that kind of very potent memory came through, and deep appreciation for music. Yeah, fantastic evening. And what was interesting was towards the end, because it kind of it cuts off very quickly. In my experience, it's not like mushrooms or acid, which kind of lingers and is much longer. The MDMA, this transition felt very kind of sharp. And at that moment, I noticed a very strong craving of like, oh no, oh no. And I was like, yay, relax, bruh. Relax, calm down. Nothing's changed, just let it be. I was like, okay. And I bring that up because I then subsequently did MDMA 2 more times in the ensuing weeks. The following kind of few weeks later was with Eve, similar setting, very similar experience, very similar vibe. And again, when it ended, noticed that like slight craving, and like was very intrigued by it. And yeah, and the third time was in a slightly different setting. Would I do it again in that kind of setting? It's a little bit more of a group vibe. Very cool. Very no regrets or anything. But maybe it was just a lot going on. Maybe just the kind of maybe too much distraction for me personally. Like, and like kind of going towards more of a party, which is cool, whatever, you know. But what I experienced the previous 2 times and what I experienced that third time in that group setting, same feeling, same message, you know. And within the Dharma bodhicitta, right? Awakened heart mind. Just it's here, it's heart, you know. It's like and that for me is what is the drive. That's what keeps people there in those moments. And maybe the people who can stay are the ones who've probably had their hearts broken more than anyone else. That's that's definitely been an observation for me. The people who have put their hearts on the line, continue to be vulnerable without being, I mean, with, you know, there has to be a growth of wisdom and reflection there, and refinement of understanding boundaries, understanding mistakes, understanding hard lessons. But yes, finding a way to come back and to, okay, this is where I'm operating from, and I can be here, and no matter what. Oh, it all makes sense now. Oh.
It's like there and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will. I'll remedy it later, but it's been interesting. Yeah, I appreciate that reflection. Um, and appreciate the care that you're taking in terms of integration and the that honesty of that moment of craving prior, or sorry, after that, which is the risk, but honest conversations and reflections around exactly that risk, I think, um, is is important, and um, having models of integration and manners of is yeah. There's that image of you as a child in your garden in the rocks. You haven't stopped doing that. So I was thinking of the as the mountain stood still, it seemed totally in line. It's
Yeah.
crazy how in life this kind of yeah, I guess just the unavoidability of who we are just keeps keeps reiterating. Um, there's this piece on, I was hearing it in what where you're reflecting about Louis, um, people who just put their hands in the soil, um, the brokenheartedness of love, the brokenheartedness of coming to love, the almost the brokenhearted necessity of being able to love, of staying with. And what's most prominent for me there is being loved, having been loved in that manner, having been stayed with through something.
Mm,
And like it's almost like um,
mm,
everything good has been given. There,
mm,
so everything, and that's those people in our lives then come to be that uh, we come to remember them in that way, and it's always like in big moments. And there's this there's this way in which that kind of love can conceal itself, or there's like a distractedness or the immensity of it, such that it's it shines at particular moments, and we recognize the very soft and silent ways in which we've been held. And
mm.
and there's I think the right word for it is forgiven.
Yeah.
And this that we've been loved before,
Yeah.
before being able to do anything, and that is that's the preconditioned state, that's the unconditioned state, that we have been loved in this manner. Um, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, and then it's just all the armoring that gets compounded, you know, because and it was David White who, and I think I've said this to you before, David White, who speaks about vulnerability, from the Latin vulnus, which is wound. And and then what happens when we touch that? Well, we we become humbled, right? With this immense humility, and that's from the Latin humus for soil. So to return to the earth, to come back to that feeling of fragility and feeling of yeah, of vulnerability, of being broken down, of being of things falling apart. Um, that active letting go and then back up again, and like and we it just does it to us. It's like something you don't have a choice, you know. Sometimes you can muster the courage, but other times life is just like,
I hope my laugh didn't take your gesture out of the recording. The a question I had about halfway through that I knew was ridiculous as a kind of place to aim for. It was well, what is dance? Um, and the answer that I'll take from this is breaking down. Breaking down. Breaking down is dance, you know? Break down. Breaking down. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, there's that. Sure.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. Break dance is the action of dissolving, breaking down, so that the dance can move through. You know, it's and I guess sometimes it feels, yeah, sometimes it does feel like it comes more from the outside, like like it's breaking me down, or sometimes it feels more emergent from the inside, like it's breaking out.
uh,
But either way, there's layers of rigidity that are, or layers of, yeah, well, that is still rigidity, right? Like I was gonna say layers of beauty. Like if the dance, it's like, oh, this, like, the ugly dance is coming out. um but that's still just a rigidity around the idea of beauty. That's then breaking down. um Break it down, bro.
well, Dave, the haptic gardener. This this has been fantastic. I'm gonna link the well, as many links as I can to your stuff
Shout,
and
brother.
to the as the mountain stood still. That's through
Mm.
the National Arts Festival. I linked that particularly. Well
Yeah,
worth
thank
it.
you. Yeah, there's still, yeah, we didn't really get to chat about it. There's still 2 weeks of that being on there.
Ah,
uh yeah, that was a wild process, bro. That was it was, I got a scar from it. I think I showed this to you already, but
yeah,
he we were filming, and well, he was filming and I was moving, and he kept, you know, it's like quite, it's wild, it's pretty psychedelic. And we just collided,
yeah.
and like my lip kind of split, and
With the
it's like,
camera lens.
with the camera lens, yeah.
Ah, sure. You've made contact.
Big time.
The gaze of the other has scarred you. Damn. Now you're in it.
Yeah, if you
Sure.
look, see, if you watch, you'll see then for the, like, some of the shots, then there's like the scar the next day. But it happened when we were on the beach at Llandudno, and we just kept going. I was like bleeding, and it was like,
Yeah. That's that's the perfect image. That's the kind of question we were with at the beginning. Why keep going? Why keep going after contact or after pain? And it can't be subordinate to like tame ideas of health understood as comfort or sure. Let me leave you with the last word. Any word you want to leave with anybody who has been listening?
Oh, just take a deep breath and look out the window. Yeah, that's all. And thanks to you, brother. Thank you for doing this. It's wonderful to see your skills coming together and your visions and our ideas and your your pulse, your sense of the pulse, your sense of the pulse, your sense of the pulses, and I think we're onto something.
Those hidden gems. Those hidden gems.
Mm.
Alrighty. Lacquer.